Hi everybody, welcome to the next Look Up with Licia video. I'm Licia Heath, running as an independent candidate in the upcoming Wentworth by-election. Thank you for joining me again. Today I'm delighted to have Adam Jacoby up here from Melbourne. Adam is the founder of MiVote, and a very, very impressive technology platform. I think you call yourself a democracy warrior.
Yes. Or other people call me that, but I'm happy to take the name.
I think it's fitting because one of the things that struck me about MiVote and why Adam and I are working together is because of our current system and how disenfranchised and disengaged people are from the political process. A large part of that is because they don't feel that they're being heard, or more accurately, they're not being heard. So, to have you here today, Adam, is fantastic, and to be working with MiVote is fantastic. Talking out in the constituency, have seen people's eyes light up when I tell them what could be possible in terms of getting their voice heard. Can you talk a little bit about MiVote and your journey over the last few years?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be working with you and trying to make sure that Wentworthy becomes the slogan on everybody's lips. Look, from our point of view, MiVote was born from the same frustration that you just spoke about that people have, and it's the reason people here in Australia, but for us, all over the world, light up when they recognise that the thing that we talk about as democracy actually hasn't existed, and that democracy is about enacting the will of the people. And you can never enact the people's will if you don't talk to the people and ask them what they want. It's impossible to enact their will. So what we've done is built a mechanism that is quite comprehensive, both in the way that it looks at policy, but more importantly in the way that it engages equally all citizens, so that every citizen has an opportunity to voice their opinion and have their say on all of the policies that affect their lives.
Wonderful. It is such an easily applicable thing to occur.
It is.
And obviously with advancements in technology, it is there to be utilised for a political representative whenever they want to use it. People out on the street don't know what is possible. And you know, our whole system, our representative democratic system, is based on the idea that a political representative sits in a constituency and talks with the community about what they want.
They prosecute their own ideological agenda, and they pitch to us. So they tell us what we should think, whereas democracy is about asking what you think. And that's the fundamental difference. So we've gone away from ensuring that representatives are beholden to their constituencies and genuinely reflect those constituencies, and we've moved to a place where in 3-4 year cycles, depending upon whether you're talking state or federal, we get sold a bill of goods that nobody's held to actually deliver, nobody's held to account to that, and politicians can say whatever they want before an election and do whatever they want after an election. And at what point are we actually being represented? I can't find any point. And to be honest, the marriage equality debate, the last one, the voluntary voting poll, postal vote, was a great example of 6 constituencies, 3 from the Liberal side and 3 from the Labor side, where electorates clearly made a majority decision about where they wanted to go, and those representatives either refused to represent that position or abstained, which means that they weren't representing that position. So independent of whatever your personal belief is, those people are there to enact the will of the constituency. Very rarely are we asked. They were asked and they were ignored anyway. So I don't know how anybody could claim that this is a democracy.
Well, it's so curious to me because I've been talking with a lot of young voters out in Wentworth, and they're sick of people saying to them, "You're so apathetic. Why don't you get involved?" But obviously they're disenfranchised and they're apathetic because they don't feel like they've ever been asked by their political representative their thoughts on things.
Absolutely. We actually did a lot of market research to a whole variety of different demographic groups, and what we learned, especially from the younger members of the community, is it's not that they're disengaged or disinterested or they're not reading about what's going on or have opinions and positions about various policy issues, they feel as though there is no point in being involved because they're not going to be listened to anyway. And so nobody asks them, and then even if they voice their opinion through activism or social media, there is no recourse for that voice to be heard. There's no way, there's no mechanism for a member of parliament to say, oh, well, that's the view of the majority of my constituents who are informed on this issue, and my responsibility as an elected official in a democracy is to represent that view. And so young people who have, we're seeing youth activism rise all over the world. We were really fortunate, MiVote was fortunate to stand on stage with some of probably the best known youth activists this year in Houston at the March for Our Lives rally in Houston. And we stood on stage with David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez and Marcel McClinton and gave speeches with, these are young people in our community, 16, 17, 18, 19. They are deeply engaged. They are deeply across the issues. They understand what they're about. And again, independent of what your view of the positions are, because MiVote we're non-partisan and you're an independent running. It's about ensuring that every citizen, every person who will be affected by policy has a participatory role in the formation of those policy positions.
Look, it's wonderful stuff, and to re-engage the public in the political process in Australia is absolutely the answer. And from my point of view, as a political representative or a future political representative, I would not be scared even remotely in asking my community what their views are. But it would appear that people in the major parties are scared about asking constituents.
Well, look, it's whether it's fear or whether it's practicality is I guess the question. But when you are prosecuting a particular ideology, and so let's take a half step back. If you believe in a particular worldview, which is what those parties are about, whether it's Greens, whether it's One Nation, whether it's Liberal or Labor, they have a view about what the world should look like. And so if every question and if every policy has to fit into that worldview, then all of a sudden the facts that don't support that view become problematic, people who don't agree with that view become problematic, and so you end up building a smaller and smaller echo chamber for people who only believe in what you believe. And eventually you get to a point where that tiny little echo chamber is no longer representative of that community. And so if your interest is solutions orientation, which is about finding the best solution for the challenge at hand, you must start with saying, what are all the facts? What is all the information that's available? How can we understand the context of this challenge so that we can make the best decision for the greatest good? And then, because you're not wedded to an ideology, you're able to go, well, that's the best path forward. And on the next one, it might be that way. And on the next one, it might be that way. But if you've got to fix it into a box, it's difficult.
Okay. Well, look, I think, we could talk about this for forever and ever, and Adam and I intend to. But from my point of view, something that I see that we can do in Wentworth over the coming fortnight leading into the by-election date is I can do basically a live poll of people in the Wentworth electorate, ask their views, then advertise that out in the electorate. And I suspect that what we might find is that this electorate is a lot more progressive than people believe. So Adam and I are going to be talking about what can be done in the time that we have in the coming period. But thank you for your time today. I've got a sticker for you, Adam.
Oh, thank you.
You're Wentworthy.
Am I?
I know you don't live in Wentworth, but I still think you're Wentworthy.
I'm going to try to be Wentworthy.
I think we're all Wentworthy. So thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you.
Likewise.